Hello. Welcome back. It's good to see you again. How are you feeling? Okay. Wow. Today is your 16th session. And today we are going to be talking about how we all have a tendency to compare ourselves negatively with other people. Now, before we do that, let's think a little bit about how your week has been. Now, I ask you to keep me a diary every week to record your thoughts and feelings. So let's start by having a look at that. Is that it there? Can I have a look? Okay. Okay, so okay. Not a bad week. Not a bad week, but some tricky spots. This can be quite a difficult time of year, I think. Okay. Now, if you would like a reminder of what we talked about in our last session, it's always helpful to review things, I think. I've made a recording and you can watch it here. It should pop up on the screen. But as I said, today we're going to be looking at this tendency that we all have to compare ourselves negatively to other people. It's a very, very common way that we seem to all have to put ourselves down, to make ourselves feel inadequate, not good enough compared to others. And what we tend to do is to focus on aspects or criteria that are valued in society, indications of achievement or success. So it'll be things like material, financial wealth, appearance, youth, weight, particular measures of beauty, maybe. We may focus on popularity, how many friends others have, whether they are in relationships. There may be other criteria as well that society deems are acceptable, necessary. So a type of career, maybe. If you have children, how many children you have, if you own a house. And what we do is we focus exclusively, when we're doing this, on people who have more than us, who are better than us. So, just looking at your your diary here for a few examples of these negative comparisons. Can see it. Can see a few. So he has more money than me. His house is nicer. He's got a better car, a better job. Okay, she's younger. Has nicer hair. He has more friends. He has a partner. He has more children than me. Okay. As I say, this is a really common thing to do. And it's interesting, when we all exhibit a tendency, that suggests usually that it's tied in some way to our survival, that we have been kind of programmed by nature to do this. And you can see here with this kind of comparison thing that it is very tied to the survival of the fittest campaign that nature runs for us. And you can see that kind of has its origins in something quite helpful. It maybe motivates us to strive, to do better, to achieve more, because the more we have, the better we are, the stronger we are, the more likely we are to survive. So it begins as something constructed or developed, if you like, to help us. But somewhere along the way, when we become very stressed or anxious or depressed, when maybe our confidence or self-esteem has taken a knock or two, it turns from something helpful, something that can motivate us to improve, to a stick with which we beat ourselves with which we make ourselves feel that we are inadequate, that we are not good enough. Because it's very interesting. When you're happy, when we're happy, you might notice we're less concerned with other people. We don't really look outside ourselves in the same way. We're too absorbed in our own lives. We're too busy enjoying our own lives. So when you notice yourself doing this, it's often a sign that you're struggling, that anxiety, stress, depression, low self-esteem is becoming an issue. So, what to do? First of all, we begin by gathering some information. And one of my favourite ways to do this is with one of these. This is a golf counter, and you can see it has two players, player one, player two. So what you need to do is carry this around in your pocket, and every time you notice yourself make a negative comparison, you mark it. Every time. And just for interest, also see if you ever make any positive comparisons. So, I'm better, I have more. Click this one. And then at the end of every day, you record your scores. And maybe do this, I don't know, do it for as long as you like, but a few days, so that you can start to see how often you are negatively comparing yourself to others as opposed to positively comparing yourself. And also notice the impact that it has on your mood. How does the number of negative comparisons correlate with how your mood has been, the strength of your anxiety, your sadness, your anger, for example. Sometimes, when we're trying to make a change, just stepping back and observing ourselves in this way can create a space in which we can start to think about alternative ways of doing things. So it's quite powerful. Observing can be very powerful. But we're not going to leave it there. There is more. So the next thing to do, once you have all of your information, is to redress the balance. So you'll see from the information or the data that you collect from your golf counter that you're making a lot more negative comparisons than positive comparisons. So then I want you to set yourself the task to spend a few days at least trying to notice what you don't notice. So whatever the criteria is you're using, and you'll probably have a particular one, a favourite that you focus on, and it may be your career or your appearance or the amount of material wealth you have. I want you to notice the whole picture. So not just those who have more or who are better, but those that have less and who are not so good, but also those who have about the same or in a similar place. So you are, or your perception is becoming more accurate, and you can see that there are always people that have more and who are better, people who have less, and people who have the same. And that's quite important to address that balance. And again, as you do this, notice the impact that it has on your mood over time. I'm not suggesting for a moment that this is the cure for all problems with anxiety and low self-esteem and depression, but it does start to nibble away at some of those mood issues when we realise that there is more than just the negative out there. So we're making our thoughts much more accurate. Now, the next step, because sometimes our thoughts are quite accurate, but we have to consider whether they are provide us with a helpful focus. So the third thing that I want you to do is consider what other things, what other measures or criteria you could focus on. Are there aspects of your personality or your life that other people might compare themselves negatively against you on? So, you may not have a particularly well-paid job, but it might give you job satisfaction, freedom, flexibility. You might enjoy it. You might not be as beautiful as somebody else, but you may be kind, generous, intelligent, funny, warm. You may have a fantastic fashion sense. You may not be in a relationship right now, but you have the possibility of meeting somebody, someone amazing, maybe waiting for you around the next corner. And somebody in a relationship may feel slightly envious of that possibility, the excitement that that potentially could have. Okay, so as you're doing all of this, I think that it is really important to jot these things down, to record your observations, your findings, and keep them somewhere close by. And the reason for this, and I'm going to draw you a quick diagram for this. There's something called mood congruent thinking. Something we've talked about a little bit before, but what it entails is this little cycle here. So we know that when we are thinking in a particular way, this makes us feel something particular. So positive thoughts, positive feelings, negative thoughts, negative feelings. That's all. But when we're in a particular mood state, it's then easier to access thoughts that fit with that mood state, mood congruent thinking. So when we feel positive, we more easily access positive thoughts, and that mood feeds itself. Equally, when we feel low or anxious, we access thoughts that fit with that mood, and again that mood feeds itself. This is how people become very stuck in negative moods. It's also possible to get stuck in a positive place as well, so we can use this to our advantage. But the reason that I'm suggesting that you write down all of your findings is because when you are feeling low, it's going to be, or anxious, or not particularly confident, it's going to be much harder to remember these things. You want to make it as easy for yourself as it's possible to, and really look after yourself. So have a little notebook that you can maybe, when you're feeling a bit wobbly of a day, when you notice maybe that you are comparing yourself unfavourably with others, you can go and sit and have a little read of the findings that you discovered when you did this piece of work. And what's important is that the more you retrieve this information from your memory bank, the easier it becomes to retrieve it subsequently. Okay, so basically what you need: one golf counter, one piece of paper, and one pen, and some willing. Okay, so give this a go. And obviously, as I say, continue to keep your diary, recording your emotions in particular, to see how they correlate with the negative comparisons that you're making. And we can maybe talk about how you've got on at the same time next week. Okay. But in the meantime, it was very nice spending time with you today. I hope that you enjoy whatever it is you're doing next. And I'll look forward to seeing you soon. Take care.